Welcome to Bet On It. It is college football week 4. I am Kelly Stewart. Let's bring in the men of the hour. That's right. Gianni, the Greek Corrales, a.k.a. the Greek Gambler, Marco D'Angelo. Marco, I forget his Twitter name, but it's totally irrelevant because mine is better. All jokes aside, welcome, gentlemen. Saw you guys last on Monday. VR gave out some gold. Marco went on a little rant, and here we are. It's already Wednesday. This is exciting. This is our biggest game of the week. I am going to be there. Soldier Field, Notre Dame versus Wisconsin. And I have no idea how the hell to bet this game because, well, I'm going with some Notre Dame fans who I also went to the Florida State game with. And they said, Kelly, if you bet on Wisconsin in this game, we're never inviting you to another game. And I said, surely I'm going to end up on the Irish here. I don't know if I can get to the window with the Irish, guys. Marco, I'm going to go to you first. Maybe you can give me some insight into this Big Ten versus an independent matchup.
Well, you got the little bit of an intrigue with the quarterback for Notre Dame. He's a transfer from Wisconsin. So if you want to talk about maybe a little added motivation, well, you've got that angle for Notre Dame. But for me, that's all the advantage I have, I see with Notre Dame. I like the Wisconsin side here. And I'm looking at this one, and we're going to start with the fact that Wisconsin's had 2 weeks to prepare for Notre Dame. Notre Dame had to play Purdue last week. And don't let the final score of 2 touchdowns, sway you. That game was a lot tighter. It was tight going to the fourth quarter. So they were in a bigger battle than it would appear by the final score. And they faced a different style of team. Purdue is a team that's going to throw the football all over the place, where Wisconsin, you know what's coming. We all know what's coming, and you still can't stop it. It's the ground and pound of Wisconsin, and then they'll mix up just enough passing in there to keep you honest, and that's how they control the game, wear you down. And we've talked about it over and over again that if you are laying points with a favorite, the best thing you want to have is a team that can run the football well, because when you're trying to protect the lead, you're doing what you do best, and you can actually extend the lead. Too often you see a passing team get a lead, and then they try to milk clock in the fourth quarter by running the football, and they don't run it well, and that just never ends well when laying the points. Also going to point out the fact here that Wisconsin, they had the one step-up game that was the first game of the season, and they lost to Penn State. Now, based on Penn State coming into the season, what they did last year, that loss looked a little bit deflating, losing 16-10. It was filled with a bunch of errors, turnovers, missed field goals, everything that you could have in that game. But since then, Penn State's looked pretty damn good. So that loss doesn't look so bad. And I'm going to go ahead and look for Wisconsin to get the job done. Little note on Notre Dame, the games they've won, the 2 step-up games against Florida State and Purdue, even though they were life and death in those games, they were aided by a 5-1 turnover margin, which means they should have won those games bigger, and they didn't. That's not a good sign. I'm on Wisconsin. Lay the points. 31-20, I'm calling it.
Ooh, okay. Well, so far I'm going to piss off the Notre Dame fans because I'm with you there, Marco. VR, anything come across your desk as far as a sharp side? We know this one got bet up all the way up to 6.5.
No, nothing on that game. And that's a great question. And what I wanted to touch on real quick, again, it's early in the week. Remind me later. I'll share as much gold as I can. I have a lot of stuff for today, actually, that'll have time to be bet on before it comes out. So make sure you remind me of that. But it's early in the week, and that's a game that hasn't been bet. What I mean by early in the week, guys, keep this in mind. I haven't bet this game. I'll tell you what I like and where I'm leaning and looking to confirm. But real quickly, this is what the sheet, this is last Saturday's sheet. This is what it looks like. Hopefully you could see it, okay? That's by the end of the day, that's what it looks like without the added games. That's just the one group's added games. This is where I'm at so far this week. Like almost nothing. So you could see a lot of stuff starts to come in as the week progresses, because you have to remember, limits open up. Setups have already been set up. So now the execution comes after the setup. That comes later in the week. So a lot of the manipulation comes early, and you got to be cautious because, again, the limits are smaller. Books are going to copy what the sharper books are posting. So these groups know we bet into these sharper books and get these lines moving the way we want. Then later in the week, we come back and pound them. Nothing so far in this game, but I agree with everything Marco said. Listen, with Notre Dame, you know what you're getting. They brought Tommy Rees over last year for one reason, make this offense efficient, and that's what he's done. But you're running into a Wisconsin team that's a little undervalued right now in this spot because you're looking at two records that are misleading. You have a 1-1 Wisconsin team, an undefeated Notre Dame team, and more importantly, you even look at the rankings, and to me, that's even more misleading. My power ratings show Wisconsin above Notre Dame, not by much, slightly, right there with them. But again, records matter in rankings, not in ratings. That's why you'll see a lot of these teams that are undefeated make it in the top 20, and yet when they play a top 10 team, they're 20-point underdogs because ratings are much different than rankings. And I think that's where we get the value here because, listen, Wisconsin is loaded. And the reason they're having so much success running the football, and that's what they have to do. They didn't last year because they had no wide receivers. If you shut down, if there's no threat of being able to throw, it doesn't matter what you have in the backfield and your offensive line. Defenses are going to shut you down eventually, and that's what happened. And even with, Graham Mertz as since Russell Wilson, their best quarterback they've had in Wisconsin, you got him there, but now you got wide receivers also. And that's where the threat comes in. In fact, they have a couple of the top wide receivers in the Big Ten. So a stud tight end as well. That threat is what allows Wisconsin to get that running game going. That's going to be a problem for Notre Dame. I like the Wisconsin side. I like the over as well, which for me, primetime game, big names, you expect that bias. I would look for value on the under. But I think this total is a little bit too low, below that 50 mark. So for me, I agree with everything Marco said. Give me Notre Dame, give me the over. But I have not bet this, so do with that as you wish.
Yeah, I haven't bet it either, but I'm going, so we know I have to have a wager. I kind of like that over too, and that might keep me out of a little bit of trouble with those Notre Dame fans. Thank you to Marco and VR. It is now time, drum roll please. Stat Daddy, it is college football week number 4. Ralph, one of my favorite guys, always bringing the heat and the pinpoints. Just for a little exclamation on top, tell me what you've dug up for college football week number 4.
Well, Kel, I wanted to break down early in the season how two teams do. Are there overreactions? Are there underreactions? So I looked at away favorites in September. This is for the month of September only. And teams off a loss or off 2 losses. So if you're an away favorite, even after a loss or after 2 losses, you're obviously the better team. Those teams, going back the last 8 years, have covered 60% going 50, 33, and 1. A very positive situation. But before I get to those teams, I do want to point out, if a team is an away favorite after 3 straight losses, that is actually a negative number. So be specific, off 1 loss or off 2 losses as an away favorite, those teams fitting the 60% easy to use system, UCLA over Stanford, Missouri over Boston College, Toledo over Ball State, Indiana over Western Kentucky, and Boise over Utah State. Now, I'm actually against a couple of those. And remember, guys, I do want to say, you hear me say this very often, just because I'm giving you a system or an angle, that doesn't mean it's an automatic play on. Use it to make your play stronger or perhaps keep you off a selection. I also took a subset. When I looked at September favorites off a loss, when their opponent was off 2 losses. So you have an away favorite that's hungry off a single loss. They're facing an opponent that is now a home dog off back-to-back losses. those teams have covered 68% of the time. They went 1-0 last year. It was Texas against Rice. This time, we're talking Charlotte and Arizona State. Charlotte against Middle Tennessee, that is a midweek game. Arizona State and Colorado, those are September favorites off a loss versus an opponent off back-to-back defeats.
Ralph, before you continue, I know that you have a little special up over at wagertalk.com. You actually have a 5% play for this week in college football. Take a moment to plug your best bet for this week.
Huge weekend for me, Kelly. I have a 5% in college football and a 5% in the NFL, which I'll be posting later tonight or tomorrow. Waiting for a line to stabilize and want to see if that line does move. But I've only had 2 5% in football, a perfect 2-0 in football, 5% this year. College football posted now. NFL will get posted. A great week to try a 3-day or a 7-day package.
Awesome stuff, Ralph. What else have you found for this beautiful week in college football? Because I need all the help I can get. This card is so damn ugly.
Well, there's only one game that applies to this system, but I wanted to look at teams early in the year, games 3 through 5, that have averaged under 10 points per game. So this only applies to FBS games. You've played at least 2 FBS foes. You're in game 3, 4, and 5, and you've been a low-scoring team averaging 10 points per game, and now you're a favorite. So who is a favorite that's played at least 2 FBS games and has averaged under 10 points per game? That is the Clemson Tigers. They obviously are a favorite this week. They face Georgia and Georgia Tech. They're averaging under 10 points per game. Those low-scoring favorites have only gone 12, 23, and 1. Not a huge sample size, obviously. It only occurs once or twice a year. 34.3%. So Clemson's in that situation this week. It's tough to lay those points early in the season if your offense has struggled. We'll see if that continues for this weekend.
I mean, Ralph, that's a great one. And, I have NC State on my long list. That may just get me to the window with NC State money line. Let's see if we can't sneak away with a double-digit underdog win there.
Yeah, DJ's just, everyone expected DJ to be Trevor Lawrence and come in and step right up. Well, you lose Trevor Lawrence, you lose ETN. The offensive line has struggled. So, I am high on NC State. I think that line is a few points too high, Kelly. So, this system got me intrigued thinking about it and the logistics of the Clemson offense. On the flip side, you might say this. Well, listen, Georgia might be the best defense in the country. Clemson struggled against them. And then you could say, well, the Georgia Tech had a huge delay. Perhaps the offense was on sync because of that delay. But you can make excuses for every angle and system there is. So facts are facts. These are the numbers. Use it as you wish. And the final one is game 4 and 5 of the season. I wanted to look early in the season again. And so we're into week 4 or week 5 for some teams. How do teams do on a 3-game losing streak, a 3-game ATS losing streak, or a 4-game ATS losing streak? So it doesn't matter if the team wins or loses. They're just underperforming by the Vegas expectations. Does that make a difference? Does Vegas and the bettors perhaps overreact? So when we look at games with a 3-game losing ATS losing streak or a 4-game losing streak, those teams, just betting on a team that has an ATS losing streak of at least 3 games, have hit 58.5%. Yes, they look ugly. It's Miami of Florida against Virginia, and it's Rice who just got pummeled against Texas against Southern Miss. But again, facts are the facts. Games 4 and 5, teams that are on at least a 3-game ATS losing streak have covered that next game 58% of the time.
I saw that Miami Hurricanes team live last week, and I'm not sure I can get to the window with them this weekend, but great stuff. As always, Ralph, We are going to take a quick commercial break, but when we return, it's time for some barking dogs.
Each and every Monday is $9 Monday at wagertalk.com. All daily picks packages are priced at only $9, including $40 5% best bets. As an added bonus, all new users will receive $25 in wager bucks credited to their accounts, available for immediate use after their initial $9 Monday purchase. So make sure to take advantage of $9 Mondays at wagertalk.com.
I don't know if you guys can hear that Frenchie over there snoring on the floor. She's not barking, but we have some dogs that are barking. Let's bring back in Marco and VR. Marco, you are up first. Tell me who your barking dog is for this week.
All right. Well, we're going to go back to one of our teams that rewarded us earlier this season. They were a dog. They were in a sandwich spot, and they came through for us, and that was Texas San Antonio. We had them, I think, in week 2 against Illinois. We're going to go with a very similar spot here. We're catching Memphis coming off a high. They beat a Mississippi State team last week where they threw they had 419 yards thrown against them. They were lucky to escape, but they did. And imagine the partying going on down there at Memphis this week. They just beat an SEC team. That's a big deal. And then I'm looking for them to lay an egg the next week. Oh, let me think about a team did that last week. Western Michigan went into Pitt after Pitt beat Tennessee the week before. Yeah, we look for spots like that, and we're getting a live dog here. Not only are we getting a live dog, we're getting a live dog with the better defense. Texas San Antonio, you're not going to say that too often in a Texas San Antonio game, but this Memphis defense has been trounced all season. Yeah, they've won their 3 games this year, Memphis did, because they've played Nicholls State, Arkansas State, and then pulled that upset last week, and they've scored a lot of points, but they have given up points as well. Arkansas State had 50 points in that game in a 55-50 shootout and threw for, are you ready for this? 582 yards against this Memphis defense. Texas San Antonio is a balanced attack. They can throw the football, but they run the football well also. And I don't see the Memphis defense getting off the field. We're calling for the upset in a high-scoring game, 41-34. Take Texas San Antonio. And as my buddy VR would say, let's do a little sprinkle.
Meep, meep. Marco, this reminds me of, I think it was a 2014 UTSA team that I was on them all year. That was my favorite tweet. I'm bringing it back. Love me some Roadrunners with you this week. VR, who is your barking dog for college football week number 4?
All right, and keep this in mind, whether it's barking dog, steam, or best bet, unless I say otherwise, I bet them all the same if I make them official premium plays. And this week I did. In college and the NFL, they're all premium 4%, all the same size. So label them as you wish. I'm going with South Carolina getting 5 points. And for me, it's this simple. It's power ratings. And Kentucky has absolutely zero business going on the road and laying points. You have to go back and look at Kentucky and try to find when are they road favorites. It's not all that often because they shouldn't be in that spot. And it has to do with what we saw early in the season, beating up on nobodies. But look at the market, how they approached it, meaning what the market thought of them. They were supposed to win those games. They were 30-plus point favorites, 31 against ULM, 33 against Chattanooga. You're supposed to win those games. You didn't do much. You didn't outperform the betting market. The only impressive win was against Missouri, which I think Missouri is a little bit overrated. They're home, and the box score was a little bit impressive. That is the one game I'll give them. But that is not enough to make them a 5-point favorite on the road against South Carolina, who granted got beat up last week, but that's a very good Georgia team that they were able to keep it within the number. So yes, they outperformed the betting market. And more importantly, they've done that this entire season, other than with East Carolina, depending on where you got that number. And I think that continues. This is a really excited team in South Carolina. Even if they don't win games, it's the kind of team I want to back as an underdog. They're so excited with this new head coach who's got his dream job. It's like since Spurrier, they've never been more hyped. There's communities behind them, the team's behind them, and they're going to give. That's what you want from a dog. You want 60 minutes of effort, and that guarantees you at least a shot at even that backdoor cover. I don't think we're going to need it here. This South Carolina, the strength is on the defensive side of the ball, especially up front. That front seven is going to present a lot of problems for Kentucky. Give me South Carolina +5 in a very winnable game. That's why we're sprinkling for them to get the win at home for Coach.
VR, I love it. You just gave me that little bit of a nudge. I had all of my lists written down. South Carolina just got a big old circle. I need to get some cojones and actually get to the window with this team because you're right. I bet that Missouri team against Kentucky. And so I said, maybe I'm just a little bit off here, but that gives me a little bit more confidence. I like both barking dogs this week. Let's get in to the next segment. Marco, is that a doorbell or a chime? I think it sounds like the deli might be open.
Come on in, Kelly. We're serving a big ass sandwich this week. And we're going to take a look at Indiana going to Western Kentucky. Now, Kelly, we're going to set this sandwich up for you. And when you start with the sandwich, we go to last week. What did Indiana do? Well, who came to town? Number 8, Cincinnati. And if you know your geography, you know that, Ohio, Cincinnati, and Indiana, bordering states. This is a game that, even though Indiana's from one of the Power Fives, it was Cincinnati that was the team that was ranked and undefeated coming in there. And Indiana played them tough. In fact, they jumped out to a 14-0 lead. They had leads numerous times in this game and squandered it, and then ended up losing late by 14 points. Disappointing all those loyal Indiana home dog backers. I was one of them last week. But coming off a loss like that, in which they were up by 14 against a top 10 team, you got to expect a little bit of a letdown. And going to play Western Kentucky is a perfect team to let down against. Why are you going to be pumped up for this team out of this conference? Especially when you look at the other half of the sandwich. Look what they got next week, Kelly. You're coming off playing number 8, Cincinnati, and you got number 6 at Happy Valley, Penn State, on the docket next week. You can't get a bigger sandwich spot. Yeah, they're coming off a loss. It would have been much better if they were coming off a win. Would have been super, but you can't have everything. I still think this team's going to be deflated, and they're going to be facing a Western Kentucky offense that's going to give them fits. And Western Kentucky's had 2 weeks to prepare for them, and throw out that Army loss 2 weeks ago for Western Kentucky. It was one of those games, went up and down the field between the two, 38-35. And remember, when you're facing an Army team and facing that option attack that you generally don't see, it's tough for opposing defenses. That won't be the case this week. We're going to go ahead and take Western Kentucky plus a big number here, guys. We're getting 9. I think they can pull an upset here. 31-30, Western Kentucky. Barking dog, barking loud.
I love it. A sandwich barking dog. All right, I want everybody to stop what they're doing. Jump in the comments. Tell us you love us. Tell us you hate us. Say something nice about Marco. Like VR likes to say, he wants to know your bets before the games kick. And maybe, just maybe, if you guys follow directions at the end of the Steam segment, he'll give us some gold. VR, who is your Steam game for this week?
Yeah, and smash that like button. You guys are awesome. Listen, I gotta go with Florida State. It's scary, but that line's dropping for one reason and one reason only. There's a lot of sharp action on the Noles at +2, 2.5, 1, 1.5 money line. And here's why. Look for Milton to bounce back. Coming from Heat to Florida State, that was a big deal for Florida State. He was a stud quarterback at Central Florida. Being able to get him over to Florida State was a big deal. They were coming into this season ready for this offense to get going. It has not turned out that way. It's still very early. And more importantly, they were like the first game, it's one of those overtime games with Notre Dame. You lose it. Tough game. You're going to have that letdown. And who do you face? Jacksonville State. who's that little brother, not even little brother, little step brother, that you're their Super Bowl. That's their biggest game of their year, their circled calendar. And you're coming off a loss like that in OT to Notre Dame. That's letdown city all over it. And now it snowballed into that Wake Forest loss. A lot saw that coming. This team's so much better than what those first 3 weeks show. Even adjusting for power ratings, you can't over adjust this much. I get it. Louisville's a 2-1 team right now, coming off a nice win as an underdog, but it's that recency bias that gives us value here. It's kind of like the perfect storm of recency bias. You have Florida State, and this is something Marco talks about all the time and words it differently, where a team, you're never as good as you could look or as bad as you look. And you have the opposite ends of the spectrum here with Louisville and Florida State. To me, that's the perfect storm for recency bias. So I look for Florida State to bounce back here. If you have anything, this is a game you have to win. You can't start off 0-4. Again, of course you can. No one's due for anything. But I think this is a great spot for Florida State. The metrics match up as well. Again, I think especially after that performance last week by their quarterback, I think they get it done this week.
I'm not going to lie to you, VR. That is absolutely and utterly terrifying. I was on Florida State last week and hated myself for a better part of 4 quarters.
They underperformed. Sorry, the betting market by almost 50 points over 2 weeks. Dude, you're going to get more points than you should after that. Again, that don't guarantee they're going to cover, but it guarantees you're going to get more than you should, more times than not. You know what I mean? When you underperform as badly as they have over the last 2 weeks.
Yeah, it's been bad. Basically, I mean, Marco said it, I think, a couple of weeks ago. They lost that Notre Dame game twice. Now they've lost it 3 times. So I'm sorry, 2 times. Let's hope that they don't lose it a 3rd time. I think Louisville laying points on the road is just a little bit ridiculous. I'm waiting for the producer to insert that VR in the leprechaun part right here so VR can hit his gold for everybody.
No problem at all. No problem at all. And listen, here's what we're going to do. I'm going to pass along gold, that actionable information you could use for today and some Saturday. And then you're going to have to tune into the NFL Bet On It show, where I'm going to pass along the more football, because here's why. I'm pretty much done with baseball for the year. Again, not to pat myself on the back, but finished #1 in profit in Major League Baseball. There's a couple of weeks left, but I don't think anyone's going to surpass me. I think I got a good lead. So I'm just waiting for the playoffs now for my season win totals to see how those do. And I'm very selective, but I'm still moving for these groups. So I'm going to share all the baseball that they're betting. And what I do and what I urge other people to do is you find winning sources and then you handicap their stuff. There's so few people that win long term that if you could get access to that info, you don't have to bet at all, but at least you know you have winning stuff, and now handicap it and try to pick off the best. I do that. I know Kelly does that. You know, she has a huge network of sharp people she trusts. So again, that's why I pass along also on Twitter on Sunday nights, Monday nights, all those props. I'm not betting them, like giving them to my subscribers, but I'm betting them for these groups. So I share them with you guys in case you can use them. So if you keep smashing that like button, I'll keep sharing them. Real fast. First today in soccer, and this is a night game, we bet Curitiba. That's Curitiba. Sounds like Brazil to me. At plus 145, they're playing Vitória. So that's Curitiba plus 145 versus Vitória. And then the biggest baseball, biggest baseball bets today. Multiple groups came in on over 10.5. Dodgers, Colorado. That's why that's the only game I gave my subscribers so far today. A 4% play. Dodgers, Colorado. We're pretty much done for baseball. And then Miami. They bet Miami money line and Miami run line. Multiple groups came in on that. Real quickly, here's a couple more baseball. 9:17 under 9 KC Cleveland. 9:03 over 8 Washington Miami. 9:25 over 8.5 Baltimore Philly. 9:17 KC minus 105 923, Seattle plus 127. 929, Minnesota minus 106. 910, Arizona plus 169. 921, Houston minus 191. Saturday, main event, UFC, Alexander Volkanovski. You're getting this first. I haven't even sent that play out yet because I'm hoping the line drops, that money comes in on Ortega. I'm willing to lay minus 200 on Volkanovski. He should be a much bigger favorite. Another recency bias. I won't get into the whole spiel here, but you're probably going to want to be on that side come Saturday. And if you listen to the Bet on It NFL show, you're going to get the rest of the college football gold and any NFL I have. And hopefully you could use it. Like I say, whether you follow it, whether you fade it, ignore it, I'm just sharing it, hopefully that you could use it to profit from. That's my only goal, whether I used it with my subscribers or not. And again, I don't bet 12 billion things, but I have access to a lot of good information, so I like to share it.
I'm actually going to take our break here to tweet all that out because I have a feeling the show is not going to be out by the time all that baseball starts, and I don't want anybody to miss out on the gold. So if you do see that tweet, make sure you guys thank VR and Marco in the comments for all the hard work that they're doing. We are going to take a quick commercial break. When we come back, it is time for Best Bets.
Tuesdays is known as $2 Tuesdays at wagertalk.com and sportsmemo.com, where you can get the hottest handicappers' best bet or daily package for only $2.
Welcome back to Bet on It. It is time for everybody's favorite segment. That's right. It is Best Bets. Now, I've been rolling in these Best Bets, so we're going to keep it rolling with probably one that you guys are not going to like too much. And that's why I've got on this lovely orange top, because my best bet for this week is the Oregon State Beavers. Give me the 10.5. There are a few double-digit dogs I really did consider this week, but I got to take the best against the spread road underdog in the Pac-12. This team has been quietly flying under the radar, and no one seems to recognize it. Maybe they're just getting overlooked for teams named UCLA and USC, maybe even Stanford, Washington State, whoever they may be. Look for Oregon State to cash us another ticket on Saturday. Speaking of looking great, USC looked really great last weekend after they fired head coach Clay Helton, but I think that final score was a little misleading. Washington State needs to take most of the credit for that USC win. Now, I also know it's been a while since the Beavers have won in LA, and typically I'm giving those dogs that are barking. But don't be surprised to see that the Trojans might be on upset alert. Nice off that big win. Look for the better defense here to come to play. I like the Oregon State Beavers catching double digits on the road. Marco, who is your best bet for this week in college football?
Well, Kelly, we're going to have a Pac-12 theme here because I'm going to the Pac-12 as well, going to a different game. And we're going to take the Washington Huskies. We're going to lay the points with them on Saturday. They play California. Now, generally, Kelly, when you look at California and Coach Wilcox, it's been a real simple formula. If they're laying points, you're fading them. If they're getting points, you're backing them. But we're going to break that trend because that notorious good defense of the Cal Bears, well, it's in hibernation because I have not seen it yet this season. And we're going to take advantage of it with Washington, who had the wake-up call last week. Yeah, granted, they played Arkansas State and was able to run roughshod over them 52-3. But you know what, Kelly? You know I have racehorses, and sometime when the horse ain't winning, you got to drop them down in class and get them some confidence. And that's what they did last week, Washington. Now they can go on a little bit of a winning streak, and I look for them to handle the Cal Bears. And let's face it, yeah, they lost 2 games, but does the Michigan loss look as bad now after 3 weeks of seeing Michigan? Not quite as bad as it did that night. And the Montana loss, I can't give you a reason for how they lost to Montana. The only thing we can give them the benefit of the doubt and said, were you looking ahead to Michigan? That's the only excuse you could possibly have. If Washington keeps it clean, and that's been the problem this year, they have 7 turnovers in 3 games. If they keep it clean, they score on this Cal defense this year. And as I said, even though they lost 2 games to start the season goal is still intact. This is the Pac-12 opener for Washington. What was their goal coming in? No, they weren't going to run the table and be an undefeated team. They were a team looking to try to get to the Pac-12 championship game, and that is still in play, and it starts Saturday. Lay the points. I've got Washington rolling 35-17.
Oh, Marco, you're right. I still can't get that taste out of my mouth from being in the big house, just watching how they could have just ran the ball against Michigan. I could have ran the ball against Michigan. That being said, I'm over it. We're going to look at your Washington Huskies play. VR, who is your best bet for this week?
I'm going to be real quick, Kelly, because I started putting together what I'm going to say. And I was thinking of, because it's Iowa State. I gave them out as gold earlier when we did the Monday Night Football. And it's, like I said, a 4% play, just like the other ones. And those are the three that I've given out so far this week. So I made 3 premium bets in college football. You got them all. Whether it's the best, I'm not sure. But I'm not going to talk fluff. The bottom line is this, because most of us, listen, the guys that win have their predictive analytics that they trust. They're never going to share exactly what were the 2 or 3 things that jump out because you're going to lose your edge. And number 2 is you use your intuition, which is hard to explain, or sources that you have access to. But I try to use that to point you in directions that you could learn yourself. And some ways to think. Like I said, I'm not trying to make you think like me, but trying to make you think. And here's what sticks out to me, just level 1 handicapping. You're looking at a Baylor team, okay, that's undefeated. But look at the point spreads in those games. 44-point favorites, 17-point favorites, 14-point favorites. You're supposed to win those games. Same thing with Iowa State side, except for that Iowa game. Having lost that game against Iowa, to me, gives them all the incentive, honestly, to bounce back off of that. Like, to me, I don't see that as a big of a negative. The market had them favored over Iowa. We all concluded, whether you bet that side or not, at the end of the day, the market concluded that they're a 4-point favorite against them. Whether they won that game or not, there's going to be a lot of randomness to the outcome of any one game. What matters to me is how they executed the week after. That's why I say that loss to me is why I want to take them in this spot. Had they gone into UNLV and just got by, I'd have been worried against a good Baylor team. But going into UNLV, laying 32 points and covering that by more than 2 touchdowns, shows me just how good Iowa State is and that the market was right. That's why you didn't see it go off at a pick'em and you saw it go off at Iowa State -4. Again, you can't put too much stock in the outcome of any one game. They could have played that 3 hours later and a different outcome. You don't know how an athlete's going to perform that day, that hour, if they're at their optimum. Again, we can't control those things. Looking for certainty is foolishness. We're never going to find it. That's fool's gold. What we could control, like I said, 3 things. Plan your bet your plan, manage your risk. That's it. After that, what's going to happen is going to happen. But the fact that they were favored against Iowa, lost that game, bounced back and crushed UNLV, while Baylor's beating up on cupcakes, hasn't even been tested, and in fact even underperformed week 1 against Texas State, tells me I got the right side. And like I said, I'm able to confirm sharp money on it as well. That's why they're now a touchdown favorite and no longer 6 and 6.5. So that's as real as I could keep it. Iowa State premium play along with Florida State and South Carolina. Hopefully it's 3-0, not 0-3. Whether you follow or fade, like I said, I hope you cash them, don't trash them. Oh, real quick, Saturday boxing, Joshua, he's a chalky favorite. I laid -250. It's now 270, 275. He's going to win that fight against Usyk. If you could parlay with the over, because I bet the over as well at -140 and -150 at 10.5, Joshua's going to win a decision. That's how that's going to go out. That's how it's going to play out. Again, I don't like parlaying at all. I do think it's somewhat correlated, but I wouldn't go as far as, saying the books will take it off the board because it's correlated. But I like Joshua and the over in that Joshua Usyk fight, along with those 3
All
bets.
right. Thank you, Marco. Thank you, VR. We're going to take our last commercial break. When we return, it's a little recap for all of you guys who just scrolled to the end, and we say our goodbyes.
Why pay regular price when you can save money on every purchase with WagerBucks at both WagerTalk and Sports Memo? WagerBucks are now eligible for use on not just daily, 3-day, and 7-day passes, but all long-term and seasonal packages up to 1 full year. There are tons of options available for every budget and size of bettor, from as low as $90 gets $100, all the way up to $3,500 gets you $5,000. Save every day on every pick you buy with WagerBucks. Have you checked out all the new handicappers at WagerTalk? If not, here's your chance. You can take 50% off your first daily or 3-day all-access purchase at WagerTalk using coupon code TRYWT. Our new roster of experts is 30 deep, covering sports from all around the world, giving you tons of options to choose from. All you have to do to redeem this offer is go to wagertalk.com, choose a handicapper of your choice, and use coupon code TRYWT at checkout, saving 50% on your first purchase.
Thank you to all of you who have been hanging out with us on this beautiful Wednesday evening. We know you guys could watch a ton of other shows, and we appreciate you tuning in to myself, Marco, and VR. Let's recap week 4 of college football. All right, VR, Marco, both like Wisconsin. VR says, Kelly, bet that over. That'll keep me out of hot water with those Notre Dame fans. Barking Dogs, South Carolina +5 for VR. UTSA +3.5 for Marco. I was excited to hear both of those because I've already bet both of those, locked and loaded. VR is scaring the crap out of me with the steam game with Florida State. Sandwich game, Marco says Western Kentucky +8, +9, depending on where you like to shop. That being said, it's going to be a little bit of a stinky sandwich, Marco. You should have labeled that as such, but I'm going to bet it with you. Best bets, I'm on Oregon State +10.5. VR gave this one out on Monday, Iowa State -7. And Marco said also lay a touchdown with another team, Washington -7.5. Marco, VR, I did not call anybody jackasses this week, so hopefully the guys in the comments aren't too disappointed. Just trying to behave myself every once in a while. Almost dropped an F-bomb earlier when I was introducing Ralph. So here we are. Let's have an amazing week. Good luck on all of your bets. We'll see you guys on Monday. Until then, let's bet on it.